mouth say exactly what you want it to say, God, and the people's ears hear what you want them to hear. The hearts receive what you want them to receive. Father, I thank you for that on today. I give your name the praise, the glory, and the honor. And everything that is not like you today, it has to cease and it has to go in the mighty name of Jesus. Now have your way in this service, God. Move by your spirit and move by your might. We already thank you for your visitation, and we know that you're going to even do something greater. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. First, give honor to our Lord and Savior on today. I thank God for the ones that are here. I haven't seen in a good while, Dr. Hughes and Christine back there. And we thank God for them. We thank God for them being here on today. Also, the folks that came in from Citadel, they already had to leave. I know they got their own service to go to. Pastor Dilworth and First Lady Dilworth and Sister Marcia and others that were here. We thank God for them stopping by, and just to say hi to us and to be here, in the worship service. I thank God for all of your faces. I haven't seen some of you in a while, and I thank God that you are here today. I thank God for our visitors. We thank God for everyone, that is here. I struggled with this message. I struggle with the message that I'm getting ready to give you. I fell asleep last night on my counter trying to really put the final touches on this message. And I got up 4 o'clock this morning so I can hear. Have you ever, got up early in the morning and it seemed like God was just talking to you and he was firing things off? And it just seemed like it all clicked around 4 o'clock this morning. I couldn't rest. I rolled out of the bed because when I fell asleep late last night, I was saying, God, this is not done. Something is not right. And when I got up this morning, just everything clicked. And so I was up typing all this morning. Amen. The children, you can go with Sister Melinda, please. All of the children, please. Thank you. And when I got up this morning and it all clicked, I started to abandon the message on today and said because it just wasn't flowing right. And the Holy Spirit would not allow me to do that, Elder Henderson. He's been working with me for months relative to teaching on bits and pieces of this here subject matter, and more so in trying to identify and pray about what is happening with our youth and our young adults. And my heart is going out to see the struggle that is taking place with many of our younger adults and some of the things that are happening, with them as they struggle through society. And it seems like they cannot find their way. However, God is pulling me in a direction of talking about it a little differently today. And it's just only going to be the first portion of what I think is going to become a series. And I'm not going to give you a whole lot of instructions about things, but I want to talk to you from a whole level of the heart of God and where we are and some of the things that we need to do, just a little bit. And so when I started looking at this over the last several weeks, he said something like this: when letting go hurts. When letting go hurts. And I'm going to just talk to you just a little bit coming from Luke, the 15th chapter, the 11th, starting around the 11th verse. And it's a familiar parable that we're going to be talking from. But I want to talk to you mostly around relationships. And God began to just deal with me on this thought. There's times when relationships hurt. Did you hear what I said? There's times when relationships hurt. You are left with some powerful and painful questions of what happened to the relationships. And I want to look at it from an aspect of all phases of relationships, and then I want to zero in on parents and children. Many times when we're looking at these relationships and when the dynamics of the relationships seems to be changing, you're left with questions like, what went wrong, and what could I have done better, and what could I have done differently? And then the other question that you ask yourself is, how can I fix it? How can I make it better right now? What can I do to fix it right now? And God said to me this morning, and I promise you that this came directly from the press this morning, 4 o'clock this morning, he gave me this thought. He said, every relationship is developed through a complex series of choices made by all parties. Every relationship is developed through a complex series of choices that are made by all parties. Each choice is associated and connected to outcomes and consequences. Each one of them are connected to outcomes and consequences. In every relationship, there's choices. In every relationship, there's complex choices that we cannot fathom are going to lead us down certain roads. Many times when we are aware of the choices that we're making, we still do not believe they're going to end up the way that they are. You missed that. Even when it seems like we're making good choices within the relationship, sometimes those good choices don't necessarily have good outcomes. Sometimes those good choices even hurts the individuals within the relationships. I want you all to listen to me very closely today, because many of us have made great choices, and we think that we have made great and excellent choices within the relationship, but the very choices that we made in the relationship seem to have hindered or hurt the individuals within the relationships. I'm present company included in all of this discussion, because I had to come to a reality within relationship. And if anybody know me, I am a relationship person, and I hold on to relationship, and I gravitate to relationship, and I try to make everything right in relationship. But in doing that, I may have made the mistakes of leading the relationship in a way that God never intended the relationship to go in the first place. Y'all ain't listening to me. I tried my best to get through writing this message and everything without tearing up, but many times I found myself, as I wrote bits and pieces of this message, I found myself tearing up and choking up. And I said, God, you're going to have to get me through this series without completely breaking down, because you know I am a relationship type of guy. Everything within me looks for the loyalty within relationships. Everything within me pours into relationships, even when it hurts. Even when it hurts. And God said that could be the problem right there. And so I had to face the reality that God was going to deal with me as I write this message. Have God ever dealt with you when he's telling you other stuff to give to someone else? So when we look at these here close and personal relationships, like parents and children and husband and wives and confidants and good friends, and the relationships go awry, we begin to lean to our own understanding and trying to fix them and trying to work out the situation and trying to bring them back together. We look through our own means and our own resources. And God said to me early this morning, that's the problem. He said many times when relationships begin to go awry and when relationships begin to get rough, people try to fix them instead of talking to me. Saying, what do I must do, God, and in what direction must I go, and how should I handle this, God? We lean to our own understanding and we begin to try to fix the relationships based upon human means and emotions instead of looking at the spirituality. Maybe God is trying to do something, and that's the reason why the relationship is the way that it is. I told you I have to deal with me in this message. And I found myself tearing up often because I don't think that there's anybody on the planet love harder than me, and especially when it comes to relationships. And God said just maybe where the relationship is where I may have wanted it to be in order to do something totally different than what you have ever expected. I said, God, that's too hard for me. I can't fathom some of the stuff that you're talking to me about. Have God ever hit you with something that you had to take a step back and you had to ponder it? And so I had to ponder, and I had to tear up and choke up and continue to listen to him as I type. I'm not the fastest typist in the world, but I had to type it. He said this to me, just maybe, I allowed certain things to happen. I allowed certain relationships to go awry. I have allowed certain things to happen in order for me to step in, not you, not someone else, in order for me to step in and to do what I have to do with the individuals within the relationship. And he said that there are so many of us as parents want to fix little Johnny and want to fix little Susan and want to get them out of every situation that they have gotten themselves into. And now little Johnny is not little Susan, they're big Johnny and big Susan, and we're still helicoptering over them and trying to swoop in based upon our emotions to rescue and to snatch them out of a particular situation that maybe I am their father and I love them more than you and the mother may ever love them. And maybe I have allowed them to be in that situation based upon all of the choices that they have made in order to do something different in their lives. He said that's the same way with any other relationships that go astray. You have to make sure that you're not swooping in on your helicopter of emotions and trying to rescue and snatch things back and trying to fix it without consulting me. He said, I'm the Father and I knows best. Even when you are trying to fix it and you're trying to figure it out and you're going through an emotional, most of our choices, even as Christians, as he talked to me, is based upon our emotions, based upon our feelings, based upon how we feel about the person, feel about the situation. Our emotion gets in the way of really listening spiritually to God to guide us and to direct us of exactly what to do in a particular situation when it comes to relationships. God knows the very thing that would cause little Johnny or little Susan or any person in a relationship that has gone awry. He knows what would drop them to their knees and bring them back to him. Not us. Not us. God knows exactly what it would take in order for that individual to correct the situations in their lives. And not us. And when it comes down to parents and I'm guilty I'm guilty. When it comes down to parents, we have a tendency to think that we're doing the great thing of constantly rescuing our children out of situations and circumstances, and instead of allowing them to work through it and us hearing from God to help them to work through certain situations and circumstances. Because we don't want to see them suffer. We don't want to see them in pain. We don't want to see them go through anything. Have you ever been, as parents, have you ever been guilty of saying something like this? I want my children not to go through what I went through. Have you ever been guilty of saying, I want my children to have more than what I had? Maybe what you went through is the very thing that made you, and maybe the things that you didn't have kept you from getting in a situation that you didn't need to be in. We have to be very careful when we begin to say certain things and how we conduct ourselves when it comes to our children and when it comes to relationships. I told you I'm going to do this here swoop thing and try to narrow it down just a little bit. Many of the things that our children and our young people are going through are based upon some choices that they have made. And if we continue to rescue them, they'll never feel the pain deep enough in order for them to start making correct choices. Watch this. I don't know how this phrase came out of my head. I have to believe it was the Holy Spirit. He said this. He said many times the pain that they suffer from the choices that they make must be greater than any pleasure that they are receiving from their action. True change does not take place in many cases until the individual is saying, you know, these choices are just hurting me so bad, I just don't want to make them anymore. I have to choose to do something differently. I have to make a choice to do something different. And many times we want to call that they have to hit rock bottom, they have to come this low, they have to do whatever, skid row, or whatever you want to say. But many times we rescue or we snatch people back when God is working with them or God is getting ready to work with them. We swoop them up and we take them out of God's hand and we put them in our hand. And God has said enough. Now I'm guilty. I'm looking at the pot and I am the skillet. So how can the pot talk about the skillet unless the skillet says I'm guilty too? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not sitting up here on no pompous pious, looking at you and saying you're all wrong, 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 wrong. I have been wrong. And I struggle right now trying not to continually be wrong. I'm trying to let God be God in relationships. Jesus. He said, you need to know that there's something about me. There's something about God that sometimes we fail to remember and to understand. We're going to get to Luke the 15th chapter. I'm building on it. He wants, number one, God wants to reveal his love to any person in any relationship personally. And sometimes God can't personally deal with that person because we too busy interfering. God can't do what God personally needs to do in that individual life because we are running interference and we are running to whatever we do to try to stop them from getting to a point where God said, I got you now. And the more we do that, the greater their pain and their suffering is going to be, because they're going to continue to make horrible choices. It's going to be a circle. Do you understand what I don't know about y'all, but I know God dealt with me on this message, so maybe I'm preaching to me while I throw it out there to you. You trying to fix that man, you trying to fix that woman, you trying to fix those children, you trying to fix everything, and God is saying, let me fix it. He loves them, and he wants to have a personal relationship with them, but we continue to get in the way. Have you ran interference for a person to stop God from dealing with them? I have. I'd have done it for a whole congregation. You hear me? A whole congregation. Look. It hurts when God deals with you when you're supposed to be getting a message for somebody else. You hear me? He said this about himself. He said, my love transcends their bad action. Don't you think that I can reach them even when they're going in the wrong direction? Why you got to try to fix it all the time? If I was finished with my message, I would drop the mic right there and say, boom. But I'm not finished. You know what else he told me this morning? He said, me as a loving father, my love never fails or changes for them, even when they're living their worst. Even when you're having a heartache about it, James, even when you coming to me trying to fix it, even when you're running interference, even when you're looking at your own resources, even when you're trying to come to your own conclusions, I still love them right where they are, and I love them enough so that I want to personally work with them. Just maybe your wayward child is heading in a direction where God can box them in and he can work with them. Just maybe your wayward husband or wife is heading in a direction where God can box them in and say, ain't nobody to rescue you, it's just me and you. Just maybe. Just maybe. Maybe it's just you, a wayward saint, doing whatever you want to do and act like you a victim. And God is saying, I'm going to back you in a corner, allow you to get yourself in a position. I'm going to allow things to be orchestrated by the choices that you are making yourself. And I'm going to hem you into this corner, and I'm going to deal with you personally. Ooh, God is too good to do that. No, you making bad choices, and he did not manipulate your choices. You made them, but he allowed you to get there, so you're right where he wants you to be, so he can deal with you personally. And he loved you so much that he even loved you through the horrible choices, but he's ready to help you in that situation if somebody don't come and rescue you. You know, when he began to talk to me, he showed me this thing. Watch this. My God is a picture person to me. He often tells me to put myself in these stories in the Bible. And when he says to me, he said, James, you have been a rescuer and a parachuter all of your life. And he said, I see you diving into a situation, holding on to a rope, snatching somebody up out of something that I got them in, and you lifting up out of the helicopter, and you taking them up with you. And I'm looking saying, I was just getting ready to deal with them. So let me illustrate through the Jesus parable. Jesus did a parable that perfectly illustrate how God wants us to handle these situations. All right, I feel myself getting ready to cheer up a little bit. Luke, the 15th chapter, and we're going to start around 11 verses. It's okay if I walk myself through these things just a little bit. This parable comes on the heel of the parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost coin, and now we on the parable of the lost son, or the prodigal son. Many people don't realize that if you look at the sequence, God worked himself all the way to what is most personal to us, and it is the parable of the lost son. And if we look at the 11th, and let's go to the 13th verse as I kind of walk my way through this, and I'm going to be finished. You all know we don't hold long that much anymore, and I want to be finished with this in a little bit, and we'll pick it up a little later. I want to give you some cliffhangers, because I want you to chew on this, because it's going to be a lot of stuff that you got to chew on, because you got to make it very personal here, and you have to say, God, I'm guilty. I need to fix these things. I need you to help me. Because even when I thought I had a grip on some of these things, I found myself helicoptering in, dropping in, parachuting in, rescuing. Do you not know how difficult it is for me not to have my hands on the relationship or people that have decided to move on from this ministry, and I want to parachute in? Do you understand me? If you know anything about, you should, because how many of you are parents? How many of you are parents out there? How many times, you don't have to raise your hand, but I want you to think about it. How many times have you parachuted in and tried to fix it? How many times have you have tried to move hell and earth to fix it? How many times have you looked at situations that you have begged, borrowed, and steal, and got mad at other people because they didn't give it to you in order to fix it? Fix it. 11th verse. Bad thing when one eye is 20/20 and the other eye is, you're going like this. Okay. They told me I'm going to have those, what y'all call them, cheaters, readers. Not cheaters, readers, right? Readers. The lady said, Mr. Hurd, you're going to have readers in every room. I said, the devil is a lie. Just give me one good-looking pair of readers, and that's all I'm going to carry around with me. It ain't going to, oh, yeah. Man, I just want one good-looking pair. So I'm going back and forth. The parable. And I'm going to read from the New King James Version. Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of my goods that falls to me. So that he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. Want to stop right there, because I'm going to take a time to talk to portions of this parable. I want you to understand exactly what just happened here. And it is no different than what many of us go through in relationships. And it's no different than what some of us are going through right now in relationship. And particularly when it comes to our children. Here it is that this young man came from an influential family. He came from a upper middle class or a middle class family. Because we're going to find out that they're servants, and we're going to find out that there's abundance of goods and substance that this young man had access to. This young man probably went to private school. He probably went to the parochial school of Israel or something. He went to one of the private schools. This young man had the best within his home. But you got to understand what just happened here. This is not something that happened overnight. This was an accumulation of this young man constantly bringing discord within the family, constantly causing problems and issues. How do you know that? I know that because I know how life is within the family. The parable did not give you all of those details, but you can pretty much read into here exactly what's going on. And so here's this young man, week in and week out, coming to the father and saying, I want my stuff. I want you to give it to me now. Give me my money. He haven't earned any money. He don't have a job, just the things that he probably do around the home, but he's causing all kinds of problems and discourse in the home. Situation after situation, and the father got to make a decision because he's got other children in the home. He's got other people that he has to be concerned about, and he's sick and tired of what this is causing and doing to the home. I'm pretty sure that he's hearing from mom saying, babe, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to take care of little, whatever his name is? What are we going to do about this? You know that this is the conversation when they go to bed, when they get up, that they are praying for him, that they are fasting for him. They know God because Jesus is telling the parable. And it's not like this is a bad family. This is a family just like ours, where stuff is going on. Do you hear me? And they're going through this here. They're living this in real life, in real time. And it's their family, it's their children, it's one of their sons, one that is educated, one that is, wealthy. And he's demanding, and he's coming to them, and he wants his stuff, and he don't even deserve his stuff yet. Because dad is not dead. You get the wealth of the father when the father dies. He said, bump this, I don't care what's going on. I want my stuff right now. Watch this. We see that as soon as he got his stuff, look what happened. It doesn't really tell you all of this, but I want you to see it. He really got what he wanted. And I titled this, When You Really Get What You Want, it may not be exactly what you thought it was going to be. He wanted that money, he wanted that wealth, and he wanted now. Any of us have dealt with some situations in relationship where the people were demanding in the relationship, but yet they was not deserving of what they was demanding it from you in the relationship. Hey, I'm guilty of giving in. You weren't deserving, but because you're so demanding and you're causing so many issues, and so you look at it and you say, the less of two evils, Can we talk? And so the father gave him what he really did not deserve to have. But in order for him to keep peace within his home and to stop the contamination, do you not know That one bad apple in your household can destroy your entire household or influence your entire household unless you make a decision? People don't want to hear that. So he gets what he wanted. And what he wanted the most of these 6 things to me, you may see more. He wanted to get away from the father's control. Anytime that people do not want to line up in a relationship, they have a problem with following the instructions of the leader of the relationship or the authority of the relationship. This is not a happy jump up message, is it? Huh. Number 2, he wanted to get away as far away from the father as possible. He wanted to be out of sight. Out of sight. Huh? I don't want them to call me your little boy. I don't want to be associated. Have you ever had somebody in the family, in the relationship, and saying that I don't want to be associated with you anymore? And you have given them so much, and you have poured into them so much, and you have nurtured them so long, and yet they say, I want to be as far away from you as possible. It may go something like this. Mommy and Daddy, I hate you. I can't wait until I get away from this place. I'm ready to get away from you. He was ready to be in charge of his own life. So he thought. Huh? Grown mean grown responsibilities. Sometimes when you feeling it, you think you grown. But when life hits you, you ain't as grown as you thought you were because you don't know how to make a grown decision. Dad, how you do this? I thought you was grown. Mama, you got some more money to get me out of this? I thought you was grown. Anytime that you feel like that you're grown, you have to make grown decisions. I came up a little short this week. That sounds like a grown person problem. He wanted to be in charge of his own life because he thought he was grown. Not understanding that the father and the mother sheltered him from grown responsibilities. How many times have we sheltered our children from making grown-up responsibilities and decisions? Y'all don't like me right about now, huh? Our little Johnny and our little Susan is ignorant of how to really conduct business because we conducted it for them. Little Johnny and little Susie don't really know how to handle their affairs because we handled everything for them. They don't know how to deal with conflict resolution because we made sure we solved their conflict for them. He didn't realize that the father ran interference for him all his life, and now he want to step up and he want to be grown. Jesus. He said, I want to do what I want to do. He said, I want to live where there are no rules and no regulations. So he wanted to get away from rules and regulations. Huh? There's been people that I have rescued within ministry that didn't want to follow the rules and want to get away from rules and regulations, and that ain't done nothing but hurt them because I have swooped in and I have sheltered them from following the rules and regulations. Do you hear me today? When people get upset and when people get mad and they in relationships, that means they don't want to follow rules and regulations to make the relationship function the way that it's supposed to function. So I run from it. I want complete freedom. How many of you know freedom is really not freedom? Huh? I want complete freedom. I want to run from this. And, see, Dad, I need my freedom. See, Mom, I need my freedom. You're going to find out freedom ain't that free when you get out there on your own. This dude had it all twisted. I can imagine seeing him walking down the street as soon as he got his little money and his little cash. He ain't got too much to carry because he ain't bought nothing. So whatever he got in his little bag and put on his camel and his donkey and his horse, I can see him trotting on down the road and saying, I'm free, free at last. I'm free, free. He don't understand what he's getting ready to get into. Because his mom and dad hasn't set you down to be able to balance your checkbook. Your money ain't going to go very far. I can see him right now, just going down the road, getting ready to get into some whining and dining, getting ready to have some fun, and forget about responsibility in life. And Mom and Dad is not there to rescue him. My next point was, life is more than pleasure. When you're grown, life comes with some pain. Life comes with some things that you have to deal with that hurts. And many of these kids that we have rescued all our lives are not willing to deal with life hurts and pains. They only want the pleasures. I'm going to use a word that some of you are not going to like that I'm going to use. Even in church, folks, I see it happening. We feel like we are entitled to something. I came up in church and I'm a part of the church and I'm entitled to be this. I'm entitled to have that position. I'm entitled to be on front. I'm entitled to be noticed. And when we are not endowed with the entitlement, then we want to flee, and then we want to be, huffy about it, and then we want to get upset about it because we feel entitled to something. Many of our children that we have raised in our own homes, because we have not done what we're supposed to have done and trained them and taught them the way that we are supposed to teach them, now they feel entitled to something. Why you ain't going to come and help me? You'd have helped me all of the other times. I know y'all got some money. You ever had your children tell you they know you got some money to help them out of their situation? Huh? Like they peeping into your bank account. Yeah, we got some, but we got something coming up called retirement. He felt entitled. He felt entitled to everything by everybody. He felt like life was nothing but pleasure and fun. And we see that because he immediately dove into the pleasure and the fun. Not thinking about this money got to last me. And so I need to figure out how to invest it, or I need to see where I'm going to get a job, or how I'm going to turn this money over and to make it last me until I get more income coming in. Life was pleasure. Watch this. I haven't said this, but I need to drop right here, and then I'm going to quit, and then we're going to pick it up. Never did you see the father stop him from walking out that door. Never did the father in this parable jump in front of him and say, over my body, my life, you ain't gonna go out this door. We're gonna fight today. No, the father didn't say that. Y'all know how y'all trying to grab those kids and make them stay. You ain't leaving this house. This is a wise father in this here parable. He did not run interference of letting this dude go where he wanted to go. He did not say, well, this is my money. I was going to give it to you, but now I'm not. Just hit the door. He said, here, yeah, I was saving it for you. Take it. Go. This was a wise father because he knew sooner or later that it was going to be a confrontation, that it was going to lead to him and his boy getting into it, that it was going to be awful, and it may pull in the other sons, or it may pull in the mother, it may pull in someone else. It's a bad thing when a parent has to hurt a child, or a child has to hurt a parent. But I'm on the other end. I can't let my child hurt me. That would have been a bad situation because this father was hearing from God. He avoided all of that confusion and disruption within the household, and he did not try or to prevent this kid from going on and doing what he had to do. Got to put a caveat here, and we're going to see it later. That's because he had faith in the God he was serving. I don't understand that, Pastor. That's because we don't exercise it that much, because we're too busy having faith in our resources, having faith in our thinking, having faith in our plan, having faith in, well, I can go and get that money from somebody else to help get him out of this. No, maybe he needs to be in jail right now. I don't believe that. I'm sorry what you don't believe. You need to talk to God about it. Maybe the worst thing in the world is for you to go and bail your person out. Listen, I'm a part of that process. You better be hearing from God. Do you hear me? Because I don't know about you, when those instructions come to me, it's like, look, dude, this is the last time. Y'all ain't hearing me. This ain't going to happen anymore. Because God has given me the authority to let you go the next time this happens. You didn't think I had a conversation like that, then you really don't know me. Huh? Because those are hard conversations to have. You put yourself in this type of situation again, we just don't have the resources to come and get you. We're not going to jeopardize everything in the entire family to continue to come and get you out of a situation like this. That father said, go. It's hard to have those type of conversations. But those are the very conversations that we need to be having with some of the people that we are in relationships with. You chose to go, you chose to leave, then you chose to leave. You have to suffer the consequences. You chose to do that, then you have to suffer the consequences. This father never jumped in front of the door. He never tried to stop him, because he trusted God that he was serving, that God had a plan. God's plan does not always unfold within our timing. Watch this. Sometimes God's plan seems like it will never come. I'm going to say something that you're not going to like, but I'm going to say it anyway. And some of you are going to try to rebuke me. You rebuke me on, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to say it anyway. Just maybe, that individual, that child, that person may not ever bring the relationship back the way you want it, but just maybe God will still work with them and save them and develop them in a different way. You hear me? That's tough. That's tough. Well, God, I thought you was going to bring us back together. Maybe God won't. Maybe God won't. Well, God, I thought you was going to deliver him out of prison. Maybe God won't. Maybe his ministry is prison ministry as long as he's saved. Well, God, I thought you was going to, I know he made a mistake. I know she made a mistake. I know they done this, and I thought you was going to get him out of that. Maybe he's not. But that doesn't mean that he still cannot work through them and with them. That's tough, isn't it? That's tough. But do you trust God? Because we're going to find out that there are some things that when God is working don't always seem to be pleasant or pretty. Sausage tastes good, but you don't want to know how it was processed and made. Huh? Just maybe the process is not good, but just maybe God is going to make it taste good a little later. You got to be willing to deal with it if you're going to trust him. I got a lot more. I'm done. It's my 12:11. And I know this is going to be tough, but I'd have cried. You may as well cry with me because we're going to talk about it. Let me say this, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it periodically. Just maybe your marriage won't come back together. Just maybe your kids won't come back home. Huh? Maybe they won't get off the drugs. Does that mean God loved them any less? No. Maybe they won't turn straight like what you consider straight. Well, I ain't dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to disown them. So you tell me one sin is greater than the other sin because now you found out that they was gay, a homosexual? Now God is not, okay? Well, see, now you done went too far now. I just don't see that nowhere in the Bible. God's love transcends their sin, all sin. Huh? God loved them that he can meet them right there. And he can start dealing with them right there. Well, I don't know about that. They ain't coming in my house. Huh? What kind of mess is that? The main thing is allow God to work with them. You may not like the process. You may not like how it's going. You may get upset about it. But you need to trust God through the entire process for those relationships. I am. And it's tough. Do I still have meltdown moments? Yes. Just like a woman that don't understand why this man left me after 15 years. I gave him some good years. Huh? Come on, y'all know y'all. Huh? I'm the same way, just like a parent that don't understand what happened with this child. I'm the same way with this congregation. What happened? Even when God shows you things, even when you have an inkling that your kid ain't doing what they supposed to do, and there may be some problems here. Because, you know, some of this just didn't happen overnight. There were signs and symptoms that you chose not to deal with. Chose not to deal with. You can sit back and say what you want to say. Some of your kids need to be on medication for a while. Some of them need to go through counseling for a while. Some of them need to be in certain different environments for a while to help them. You hear me? Hey, I'm the skillet, and there are some pots out there. Some people should have been sat down for a while, but the skillet didn't sit them down. Y'all missed that, didn't you? Some people needed some discipline, but maybe the skillet didn't discipline the way he should have disciplined. Yeah, did you all miss that? See, I'm talking about me. None of us are exempt because we try to protect us and the decisions that we made. You hear me? The last thing you want to happen is somebody to seem like they're attacking your little Johnny or Susan. Your little Johnny and Susan could be wrong as I don't know what. But you come in like a bear. You ain't listened to what the teachers had said. Huh? And you see those same signs and symptoms at home. And you act like little Johnny and little Susan can't go outside of the home and do the same thing. You hear me? There's a lot of biblical principles right here in this parable that we're going to unfold. But I got to get you to see the natural side of this as well as we unfold it. Because if I just read the parable, you're just going to think it's talking about the parable and it's not talking about us. And God told me through this, make it real so that they can understand that it's you and me, us, that we're talking about. All right, stand to your feet. We're out of here.